better tune in and bring your whole crew in, cause this show's the shoe-in. We choosing LeBron versus the 90s bullies. Who wins? Assuming that you win the right frame of mental. And just play the sound, we'll break it down, plain and simple. Keep it single point of view, we'll write the plural. And always stay 2 steps ahead like a Euro. You burrow, you can count the points like your blocks late. And they gon' drop another hot take soon as this beat drops. Wait, already dropped one, the whole game's on lock, son. Your corner get Mossberg, the QBs and shotgun. The same debates held daily at your barbershop. Something making points fall quicker than a harder flop. Button up appearances, but with a rougher lexicon. Nothing but realness brought to you by upper echelon. Acknowledge haters with a tip of the crown. Residents of excellence, just critting around, yeah. We here. Residents of excellence, just
fresh
critting
off the
around,
brand new
yeah.
intro from Matthew Thompson himself. Thank you so much for blessing us with that. That is great. You know, we're almost up there with the big boys these days, just critting around. You know, it's myself, Chris, with my co-host out there in Oklahoma City, Justin. Introduce yourself, man.
Man, it's just, you know, some people call me Just, some people call me Boomer, some people call me Justin.
Some people call you a scrub.
Yeah, I mean, just that was your nickname, right, on the basketball court?
I mean, after I dropped 21, it quickly went away.
Quickly, yeah.
Right.
All right. Triple
But
double.
anyway, yeah, I'm a walking triple double. But anyway, let's just get right into it. You know, me. Welcome back to episode 4, just critting around. If you're coming back in, you know, you're a multiple-time listener. Thank you for tuning back in. If it's your first time, you better listen to the next one.
Right.
As usual, we're sponsored by UE GameWire. You can check out the latest news in video games, tech, whatever. They're going to E3. So if you want to learn more, go out there and follow them on Twitter. And also follow us on Twitter at Just Crittin and our individual Twitter handles, which will be provided below. Like I said, we just finished watching the Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals between the Wizards and the Celtics. So, Justin, what were your thoughts on the game? You know, it was pretty interesting up until it became IT time. But
right, man, it goes to show that I like John Wall. The Wizards they do not have somebody that can score, create their own shot. Bill did it a couple times, but I mean, it's very inconsistent. Mm-hmm. But besides John Wall, and tonight he didn't have that jump, that mid-range. It really made me see the difference between, somebody like a Steph Curry or Russell Westbrook that, has the handles, has some, especially Russell Westbrook can get past the defender, but then that mid-range is there all the time for them. And yeah. John Wall, the stats, when I read the stats, they showed that he improved his shooting, but tonight just goes to show
that's not his strong suit.
It's not his strong suit, and so he needs somebody else because he is a true point guard.
I believe he went 0 for 9 from the field to close that game out. He was really struggling, and that's just always been his thing, is that three-point shot. If he could get the three-point shot down, it would just open up so much more for his game, which is already great. He's already playing at a very high level among point guard standards. He gets you that 20 and 10 when you need it. It's just times like this when he's the only person that can make a play with the ball is when Washington seems to really struggle. And ultimately, this is just my thoughts. Neither of these teams after this series have any shot whatsoever to contend with Cleveland moving on. I think Cleveland, fresh off a rest, Boston's going to have to go in there on one-day rest after a tough 7-game series, physical, and they're going to have to go face the King, who is playing some of the best basketball. I think they'll get one in Boston. I think they'll get one. I can give them one. We'll see how the first games go. Maybe, we saw last night with the Warriors, excuse me. They came out kind of sluggish. I mean, granted, that's pop and different discussion, but they came out sluggish, and that's one thing that can happen to the Cavs. But ultimately, I think this just proves that neither of these teams are on the level of the Cavs in terms of playoff basketball.
Yeah, I mean that's the Eastern Conference. It's the Cavs and everybody else.
So you're on board basically that it's LeBron's conference. It's the
right. Yeah. I see. I think Celtics would get a win at home, but I think I can
see them getting one, but ultimately I think I would not be surprised if it's another sweep for both conferences, East and West. And speaking of West, we had some serious things go down, over this week while we're out. We only record on Mondays, so a lot of news tends to pass us by, and basically my question that I wanted to bring up is something I came up over the weekend is did the NBA really screw themselves by doing this award show? Because now their top two candidates and Russell Westbrook, who went out against James Harden, and now James Harden, who was those two are the two serious candidates for MVP, that he performed very, very lackluster. He didn't come to play. No, there's rumors of whatever, this and that. He just was awful. That's just the fact. He was flat out awful. He was spotted in the club right after the game, didn't even wait a day, didn't hire them to come to his house. Like, you're a millionaire. Like, what are you doing? Do you think this proves that Harden ultimately isn't a true MVP candidate?
I would say that it proves he's not a true competitor. And I mean, you're allowed to do whatever you want. If he wants to go clubbing after he lost, one of the biggest games of his career, fine, go do it.
It just shows the mentality, though. Imagine if somebody like, I'm always going to go back to LeBron. We know I'm a big LeBron homer, but like, imagine if somebody like LeBron or somebody like that did that after a Game 7 loss.
No, Kobe, I mean, when he had that game in Utah where he shot 4 air balls, they talked about him going back, and he was at the gym when he got off the flight.
Exactly. That's the champion's mentality. If you want to be great, you have to do that. You can't wait a day. That's all I'm asking from James Harden is one day, 24 hours, and then you can go club. It just makes it look like you genuinely did not care that you had a Game 7 and you would rather go out and party with your friends or whoever it be. It's just a very bad look for public image, for anything dealing with the MVP candidate. I think it does take a toll on them.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you think so? Let me get your thoughts, a little more drawn out thoughts on the whole NBA award show. Do you think this is good or bad for the league? Because I got my opinion.
Yeah,
you go ahead.
I don't like it. In here, I've got a few of the MVP award winners, a finals MVP award winner. You go back last year and it's LeBron James. Okay. Mm-hmm. He was the finals MVP. Now, who was the regular season MVP? It was Steph Curry. Okay. So if last year was the same and they don't announce until after the, game 6 or 7 of the championship game, it just feels watered down. It's like, well, here's a regular season MVP. You played like crap in the playoffs and in the finals. So I think it takes a lot away from the person that grinded for 82 games or from the player that grinded 82 games and won the award, because it takes a lot away from it. It's just how people think, mostly the fans. I don't like it. They need to make that. I was thinking the perfect scenario is have Kawhi Leonard, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, LeBron James. You only need to take a day, but you can make a huge spectacle of it. Have the fans come to the arena, have it live cast on ESPN or some network, and have everybody and make a big deal of it at the end of the regular season. And I think that's what they need to do if they want to make a big deal about it.
Yeah, it should be before the playoffs. Like, maybe give an extra day of downtime or something. We're not going to get these MVP speeches, mama, you the real MVP. None of that anymore. Mm-hmm. If we do this award show, I get their intentions, and I get what you're saying. If it happened last year, it wouldn't be like this. But ultimately, and I personally am of the belief that Russell Westbrook should be MVP, just based on those numbers he put up. But it just goes to show that LeBron knows what he's doing, and people like just the older players, it's going to be harder to get that MVP when they want to get their rest and everything as compared to rings. They would rather perform in the playoffs than perform in the regular season for 82 games and wear themselves down. We see it last year with the Warriors wearing themselves down, getting 73 wins, and it just hurts. And with Russell Westbrook going out, people could say, oh, Harden beat Westbrook, he's a better MVP candidate. And now with their top two being out, if LeBron goes on to win the finals, that's just a slap in the face for the NBA. LeBron's literally just laughing to the bank saying, oh, okay, these guys are your regular season MVP candidates, but we all know who the best player in the world truly is. And we both know who that is. It's LeBron James.
Yeah.
There's nothing much you can say. These days, nothing much you can say.
His body of work has been great. He's playing at a high level. All right.
There you go. That's what I like to hear from Give the man some love.
Dude, he's a beast. Let's see. I just wanted to see him take down Golden State this year.
Yeah. Oh man, that is my dream. I'll tell you what. You remember, because me and you were together last year for when they were down 3-1 at least, and You guys are all giving me the trash talk because I'm the only one that likes LeBron, maybe to a fault, but
yeah, it's recency's on everybody's mind when you get in those finals and you get 4 games into it and you're down 3-1. It's like, everybody, you look at Stephen A. Smith, everybody on ESPN, Fox, they're all, Cavs had no shot. And you see how quickly that can change in just a week.
That's how it is, the whole regular season.
Right. Yeah. So,
I mean, you can take on the next one.
So moving on,
we'll get away from the basketball.
Yeah, we'll get away from basketball. We'll move into football. It's been a big discussion. It's real divisive, this particular topic. But Josh Gordon, I mean, great athlete, great wide receiver.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean,
potential is off the charts.
It is, man. I literally he could have been one of the all-time greats, but he hasn't played football since 2014. He was denied reinstatement after completing voluntary rehab. And you look at Martavius Bryant, Darrell Washington, had those same year-long suspensions, but they came back. What are your thoughts?
This is a very touchy subject to some people, but ultimately, the way the NFL has been going, this is kind of the message they portrayed, that they would rather have you beat Mary Jane than smoke Mary Jane.
That's a good analogy.
So, we see the domestic violence and people coming back to play when they're able to play. Ray Rice is, the outlier because he was an older, aged-out running back. But this man is a young wide receiver. He has all the potential in the world and can help any team. But because he chooses to smoke weed, he is basically blacklisted from the NFL. And in my personal opinion, to be able to smoke weed and play a professional sport at that high of a level, it's not like it's a performing enhancing drug. If anything, it's a
it's a relaxant.
It's literally the opposite. If he wants to go spark up in the parking lot of where the Browns play and come in and play, and he can drop 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, more power to you, my man. That is just – it blows my mind that they would rather have people get addicted to painkillers and the Vicodins, having to come to trainers to get this and that, instead of smoke something that grows out of the ground and is actually proven to help with concussions and healing the body and healing broken bones faster, things like that. There's been studies that prove that we definitely can agree that it's less harmful than getting addicted to painkillers or drinking alcohol to numb the pain, things like that.
Absolutely. And here's my thing. I could talk about this for days because there's been so much information. You grow up in school and they tell you, this particular drug is going to,
make you go to heroin. Blah, blah,
yeah. And it's a gateway, and then it's just going to scramble your brain. You're not going to be able to function. But here's the deal. The NFL is in a rough spot.
Yeah.
On shaky ground because of CTE, because they're, the brain trauma and the migraines and, the anger issues that many NFL players, both past and present, are having. And then you see them get out of football and some of them are committing suicide. There's got to be an answer. And there's a doctor in Israel, and this was Vice Sports did a really good job. He actually spoke at a conference in Harvard, and Eugene Monroe, Jake Plummer, several NFL players are going here because they're looking for answers. Yeah. Many of them maybe they haven't taken the full, or actually smoking weed, but they're using some of the CBD oils
and the extracts from it.
Yeah, derivatives from marijuana. But they were banging mice around, messing their heads up, and they were feeding them these CBD oils with a little bit of THC. It was actually like a synthetic blend. And the ones they were doing that were they did not have the brain trauma that the other mice that they did not, give that treatment to. You hear that and you have the NFL with all of these problems. I think if you look up 5 years later and the NFL finally, there's a lot of political issues that go into it, but they finally say, okay, we're not going to test for for marijuana. We're not going to do this. They're going to feel really bad about some of these players that they exiled out of the league for this when they were actually having a little bit of it was a byproduct of them smoking weed, but it was actually helping them with their potential concussion problems.
So let me get this straight though. I mean, our headline says that Josh Gordon denied reinstatement after completing voluntary rehab. Do we know more into this? Like, to me, that's weird wording. How does somebody complete a voluntary rehab program and then get denied? Like, if it's voluntary and you do it, that should be a good look for you.
It is. I mean, it's just several.
Does it really come down to? It comes down to Goodell, right? You have to come sit down in front of him, and it's his choice at the end of the day.
It is, man. He controls a lot of the power. He has all the power.
Yeah.
I don't understand this. This is to me, this is something like jaywalking, especially when Goodell actually finally has come out and said they are going to start testing and seeing this. This is one of those things where if somebody's doing something that you're testing to see, hey, this actually works. Let's let it slide a little bit. Let's don't test as much. Let's don't crack the proper punishment. Oh, but the guys that are beating their wives and potentially killing people, let's go after them a little more.
Yeah, that is what he needs to do. That's what the league is lacking. They've really taken in the recent years a public display, like a hit in the public's eye, because they like we mentioned, people are Greg Hardy's of the world, things like that. People are going out and committing this domestic violence. We see people sliding in the draft because of assumed domestic violence. But when somebody has a diluted drug sample, it's bigger news than that. When somebody would rather sit there and smoke weed than go out and be a zombie on X, Y, and Z drug, you name it, or go get behind the wheel drunk, you'd rather get them get in trouble for doing that than drinking or anything like that. It just kind of blows my mind.
Right. And we never had anything, at least I'd have to go back and look, but we didn't have like Josh Gordon got caught with marijuana.
Yeah, no, exactly. He wasn't in the headlines like Rolando McClain.
He just tested positive.
Yeah.
So that's another thing you have to consider. I think, if I'm talking to Roger Goodell, I'm like, you really need to get your stuff together.
Right. You need to see it from all angles.
Yeah. This is something you have to look past, and let's put the concerns and everything looking towards how you can handle the brain trauma that the NFL is always going to have.
Oh, it's always going to be there. It's a violent sport. So if you can find a way to cope with that outside of the Vicodins, and I hate to harp on it, but like the Vicodins and the Percocet, whatever painkiller they use in the NFL these days, like if you can get away from that with a natural plant, basically, why not go to it if it's proven? I understand they want to do tests and more tests, but it seems like they're just putting it further and further on the back burner when weed is becoming more of an acceptable thing in society today, where we're at this point at least.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's the divisive
basically, Goodell just needs to spark one up and just chill out. That's what he needs to do.
If any sport needed it legalized, I would say it'd be like football or like UFC.
Oh yeah, if we're talking needed it legalized for specifically the health benefits, it's definitely those two, the two major contact
right, because
sports.
We all know it's pretty tragic to your health to play football in general.
Yeah, or get punched in the head in MMA.
Exactly. I mean, when he talks about some of the health, the potential disasters that can happen later on down the road by weed. Anyways, I could go on.
They use outdated numbers. Yeah, we could seriously go on forever.
Let's go on, man, and talk about Kawhi, the Spurs. He re-injured his ankle. I would say first, what do you think about the play where he re-injured it?
Okay, so originally when I saw it, I kind of thought, yeah, it was a closeout because when I play, I kind of do these kind of closeouts. I kind of like to get underneath people. And, I mean, it's illegal, but it's kind of a part of the game these days. So, but that, when you look at it, you can tell that it's in his mind. And I know that's weird to say, but it solely looks like he took that extra step intentionally without looking. He might not have aimed it for that to happen, but that has to be something they talk about in practice. Hey, when he shoots, close out and land underneath him, just give us the chance. Because if you can get rid of their best player, as we saw, who had them up 26 at one point, whatever it was, and he's out the game, that's instantly going to change the momentum regardless. I think they outscored him 56-30 once Kawhi got out the game, and they had already started a run before then. So ultimately, I think the play itself, it's hard to say it's dirty, but he gave that look away. He looked guilty, in my opinion, with how he reacted.
It was super guilty. And somebody told me today, said that was, stupid, that people are calling that was intentional. How is he going to place his foot exactly where Kawhi is going to land?
But it's not like he's trying to do it he didn't intend for it to happen there, but he wanted it to happen at some point.
First of all, when you do a jump shot and you land, there is a pretty small area where you're going to land, even an NBA player. And Kawhi's got large feet, so does Zaza. Yeah. When he runs up there, he can do that a couple times and maybe not even get called for it.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where I'm going to chance it. I guarantee you 1 out of 4 of these, I'm going to hit his foot, and he's going to roll my ankle. He's going to roll his ankle.
Exactly, and it's, to your point, it's Zaza Pachulia. They don't need him in the game, so if he's going to get called for that foul, the Warriors ultimately don't care. Yeah, they really don't care. And if you go back and watch that play, sorry to cut you off, but if you go back and watch that play, I'll just he shoots from inside the 3-point line, and he lands behind the 3-point line, which means Zaza came even further than where he was landing for him to land on his foot.
Well, and you don't lead with your feet necessarily.
Exactly. You go out with your hand.
Right. Yeah. And so he, went out with his hand, didn't jump, and just
then took that little extra shuffle, a little karaoke step in there.
He tried to break Kawhi's arm. Pop brought that up in his press conference previously. Today. Last year when he was with the Mavs. I mean, literally, I thought he tore his shoulder off and elbowed Patty Mills. So he's been kind of –
it's coming from the team with Draymond Green, so he learned from the best.
Right. Yeah, so I don't. But what? So what are the?
Oh, the series is done. Look, don't even. You don't gotta ask me. The series is finito. It's over. There is not a chance. Seriously, if I had a good bet, I would tell you. But there's not a chance that the Spurs are going to win this matchup at all, especially without Kawhi Leonard. They showed something with Pop being their coach and coming out and fighting, but right when Kawhi went down, man, it just looked like the Warriors the floodgates opened. The Spurs didn't have – you watch the reaction of the bench when Kawhi goes down. The players know. They just know that right there, that's their hope. It's gone.
Right. I mean, it's Popovich. I think they're going to win a game.
Look.
Kawhi or not. Kawhi or no Kawhi.
If Kawhi comes back, I can see one game. But if Kawhi's not coming back, there's not a chance they're winning one game.
They'll win one game. Without Kawhi.
Did we watch the same? Did we watch the same game last night?
Mark it down. Kawhi was on the bench in the first half a few times, and the Spurs held their own. It's just L.A. missed. I mean, they let him come back, obviously, but LaMarcus Aldridge had a few bad shots.
Gasol played. I'm glad you brought his name up. I'm so glad you brought that Frauds name up. LaMarcus Aldridge, he will get a switch and have Steph Curry on him, and he will shoot that turnaround fadeaway instead of drive to the lane. It boggles my mind because if they're going to have any hope of winning, especially without Kawhi, they're going to have to go to a big lineup with Powell and LaMarcus Aldridge, and they're going to have to hope that those two can just bang. But they're seemingly both the same exact player.
Dude, they're soft big men.
Yeah, exactly. They're the finesse big men. They want to hit that turnaround jumper instead of power, a power spin or something like that. It's just – it blows my mind. If you watch the next game, the amount of times that LaMarcus Aldridge can't even back down a smaller player. He doesn't move when he backs down.
I don't understand that because he's a big guy. He should be dominating down there.
I saw Stephen A. going off on him, and one of the few times I really agree with Stephen A.
Yeah, he's got to do something. But Pop, they've got some players in there. I think.
But you think the series is done?
Yeah, Warriors. If Kawhi doesn't come back, I've got them winning.
All this
5.
It's Patty Mills making money right now. That's all that is.
Yeah,
somewhere.
Yeah. So I think, if Kawhi comes back, well, they're going to have to squeeze out the next game. But he's going to come back. They're down 0-2. I think they might win 2 games.
If the Spurs manage to win this next game, man, I really wish I had a good bet to do. That would be cool. If we had a follow-on and somebody told me what to do. Because I just don't see it. Not with that lineup. Not with what we saw with no.
That's going to be tough.
Yeah. because Kawhi's their best player on both ends of the floor. So it's not like you're getting hit twice instead of once.
Right. Yeah, it's we'll see.
So
We'll see.
since we basically assume that we know the two finals teams, the Cavs, which we said earlier, and the Warriors, which we just agreed on right there, do you think that the trilogy, the third bout of these heavyweights, do you think that another good epic series between the Cavs and the Warriors would make up for a boring NBA playoffs thus far?
No. And that's a definitive no. The NBA in general, I mean, you basically have the Cavs Warriors, and I know you've mentioned in the past where you had the Celtics and Lakers and, you know, other great teams. But even like if you look back in the 90s with Jordan, there were some great players and great teams. You know, you had Sean Kidd, Gary Payton, Karl Malone, John Stockton. You went around the league, there were a lot of great teams that were very competitive. We don't have that. I mean, these teams are really, really good, but we don't have that competition. And seeing them go ahead and play for the finals, it will alleviate some of the disgust that maybe we've had during the regular season. And I think Russell Westbrook and James Harden kind of helped that just for the crazy numbers. But I don't see it just saying, oh, man, the NBA is great. I think they need to do some things that I'll talk about later on in the show to make it better.
I don't understand, really, is my thing. What do people exactly want? We have the third in the who knows how many times it's going to go, but for right now, the third. This one's for all the marbles, basically. You know, winner takes home bragging rights, because year one, LeBron did it without Kyrie and Kevin Love, and almost damn near did it himself and won. While year two, you have Warriors fans saying, oh, if it wasn't for Draymond getting suspended flukely, then, oh, we would have won. So right now the series is 1-1, and we have a chance to see two of the best teams in recent memory go at it again for a third time right now, and they're both fully healthy. I think if we get another 7-game series out of these two teams, it absolutely makes up, because we all know what was going to be the finals to begin with. We all said this at the beginning of the year, but then when LeBron stops playing defense in the second half of the year, we all of a sudden think that, oh my gosh, the Cavs are in trouble. Somebody in the East is going to take their turn, or oh, the Wizards are going to beat the Celtics.
But don't you want to watch an NBA season where you don't know what the final two teams are going to be? Kind of like the NFL, maybe?
Yes and no at the same time. Because
then why play the regular season?
Because that's what it's for. The case that somebody – but that's why it's 7-game series, because you get into the playoffs.
I know, but why waste time with 82 games if you know who the next two – because we all knew the Cavs and Warriors were going to be there.
Okay, but that it's just crazy. You were talking about relevancy earlier with how things change, but that's when literally
those things aren't going to change.
When literally more than a month ago, people were saying the Cavs can lose out of nowhere. The people were saying the Cavs need to look out for X, Y, and Z in the East.
No, you didn't hear that from me. It's the Cavs and everybody else in the East, and we all knew
it
that.
Is the Cavs.
Anybody who knows
sports.
But I'm just saying there's got to be some changes to make it where you come home on a Thursday night, Wednesday night, and you turn on the TV during a regular season game and say, man, I want to watch this matchup. It's going to be great. We don't do that anymore. You're telling
me I did that plenty of times this year. I did that plenty of times this year.
There are very
NBA
few.
League Pass, shout out to your boy.
Yeah, very, very few, in my opinion, where I think we could get back to more of those. That's all I'm saying.
Look, I know it was the final take thing that we were going to do, but just go ahead and just, it deals with this. So tell me what you think what is your solution to fixing the NBA's problem that you say it has, when it doesn't have a problem? The Warriors just get lucky in the West with having injuries, and the Cavs are in the East.
So here it is, right? This is what we're going to do, and I'm gonna mail this to Adam Silver as soon as I get some of the details. I'll go over a few highlights, but this is what we're going to do. And this is, if you believe in capitalism, NBA. First of all, LeBron James, for instance, why should an owner or the NBA tell him what he can make per year? Why should they put a cap on it?
Because to make it fair for the smaller market teams.
So
that's the whole goal.
So if I go and I create Apple and I'm this big, I own Apple, and I'm the CEO of Apple, and you're gonna say, oh, Justin, you're doing too well. I'm sorry, you can't make any more money.
But the salary cap's relevant is based on TV revenue. They can't, because the way the NBA does it is they split it up. Well, that's how the NFL, they split it amongst their teams, but they let you get local TV deals. So
they do, but there's still local revenue. You have billionaire owners that they don't care about a couple $1 million going out the door as far as NBA, as long as it's self-sustaining. None of these owners care if their teams really make money. Okay. Yeah. Now there's been some owners that have come through that I think, like the Maloofs in Sacramento, that weren't, billionaires and could really manage a team. But for the most part, these owners, this is a check on their scorecard. Okay, NBA team, check. It helps them out with their ego. Here's what we're gonna do to help players like LeBron and the stars in the league. Every team gets one uncapped player. There is no salary cap. It does not cap. So the market would tell you what this particular player is worth. And I did get this idea from Clay Travis as far as having one uncapped player. Okay, one uncapped player, right? Are you there with me? So LeBron would probably be the highest bid. Maybe he gets $70 million a year, $80 million a year. Okay?
So you're saying it's however much they want to make and people want to pay, they can go make.
However much the owner wants to pay, however much they want to make. But it's still going to have to be a decision on, do I want to go here and make $100 million, but this team is going to be garbage because I know they're not going to put their other resources towards help develop a team around me. Okay. Other players. So if you're in the bottom 15, there's a $70 million salary cap for the other players on your roster. Okay. If you're in the top 15, there's a $50 million salary
this is
cap.
where my problem with your solution is right here. This is a big problem. So let's take who's a fringe team like the Pelicans or something.
Okay. So they probably have Anthony Davis.
Yeah. Okay. So they have him.
Uncapped player.
All right. So if they're a bottom 15 team, you're saying they have 50 million while the other teams have 70 million?
No, yeah. If they're a part of the top, they would have 50 million.
Okay.
So their overall salary cap would probably be less.
Okay, so it's flip flop. So it's 50 for the top 15 and 70 for bottom.
Correct.
Okay. So when you sign, let's say they go out there and pick up free agent Justin Lavender to a 4-year, $60 million contract or whatever it is for the salary cap, and then they become a top 15 team.
Well,
how do those numbers revert back to making it fair? Because then all of a sudden they can't afford that player and some of the players that are already on their team because they'll be over the cap.
Right. You have 1 year to adjust your there's no luxury tax, but you have 1 year to adjust.
So you
players.
Genuinely, you seriously have to cut somebody.
Right.
But how you built that team? That takes away the point.
You're obviously not going to cut one of the top players. You still have a large salary cap. Okay. If a person is good enough to be in the top 30, and they stay in that top 30, they're uncapped, they're happy. But, obviously other players will try to work their way up.
So did you try putting the salaries of the Warriors together? If they did their roster right now, would they have worked in your system? Let's say they gave KD whatever.
I honestly think so, because I have their total cap, because they would get, let's just say KD got $70 million a year.
Yeah.
And they got $50 million to spend towards other players. It would be close, but I mean, that's still a large amount. You probably wouldn't have the bench depth. But Steph Curry is not going to sit there and when he can be making $60 million a year and playing on the Warriors. Okay. Klay Thompson, he's probably, I don't know if he would be a
But
top
who's
30.
to say that? Because right now we're seeing the teams team up right now as it is.
Because Steph Curry cannot go somewhere else and make $70 million a year.
Okay, but then what about Klay Thompson? What if somebody wants Klay Thompson? They can pay him that.
They can pick him up. They could have him as part of the Elite 30. Every team gets one. If you want Klay Thompson as that, then you're going to make money. Steph Curry might say no to maybe $5 million more, but if you're going to pay him $40 million more than he's making, that's not going to say no. So that one uncapped player. Okay, here's another thing. And there needs to be some workaround for players that fall out of the top 30. I'm still kind of working on that, but every player that's in the Elite 30 will have disability policies that they're required to purchase on themselves for career-ending injuries that pay out up to 60% of their salary. That is outside of this. You know, if LeBron's making $80 million, he has that disability. So if he suffers a career-ending injury, it's a pool of money. The insurance pays for it. He's good to go. Okay. Players, so the top 30 are required. Your current teams with uncapped player will have 10% treatment over bidding teams. The 10% will come from the NBA tax revenue share that I'm also creating in this. I'm going to need to put this in paper so everybody's going to be able to understand.
I think you're overcomplicating the real solution here. And we talked about this with our man Diggs. Ultimately, all the NBA, if they want to fix this problem, all they really need to do is get rid of the luxury tax. Because by allowing teams like Cleveland to dip their hand in there wherever LeBron goes, because we saw the same thing in Miami, when they can go into the luxury tax and spend up to that limit where they just have to pay double of what they spent, and the owner's willing to do that, they can put together whatever team they want. So if you get rid of if you make it a hard salary cap to where they can only spend X, Y, and Z on certain players, then you ultimately the Cavs wouldn't be able to afford this superstar roster of starters that play on their bench.
I don't know. I think it still needs. I still want to see the Elite 30 get paid what they're worth. That way, you get the elite talent spread throughout the league, no matter what, salary cap or no salary cap. I think that's what they got to do. More transparency. There's going to be 3 different tax brackets: a 5% for the bottom 10, and the 5% or 10% for the middle, 15% for the top. So there is going to be a tax, if you're a little revenue sharing, but I don't know. Think about it. I think this cures a lot, and it makes players happy.
Hurts my brain. Okay, it's a lot going on in there when there's a simple fix.
All right. What do we got next, man?
I think we got a new segment.
Oh, new segment.
Yeah, get it together over there.
The
top hat.
The top hat segment.
Fresh off of Amazon.
So this is what we're going to do. All right, everybody. I will draw from here. There's actually 6 topics in here. I'm going to draw 3. There's 2 minutes that we get to spend on each topic.
And for those of you not listening, we call this – or for not listening, but not watching. Yeah, if you're listening on SoundCloud or whatever, he has a physical top hat in his hand that he bought for this, and we're calling this – the top hat segment, some clever wording there.
Bro, that's creative. All right, so first one. All right, here we go. Let's see. I hope I'm not cheating.
I hope it's not Allen.
Right, let's see what we got here. All right, Chris. Could Pop have taken any team to the playoffs this year after a blowout series clinching victory without Kawhi Leonard?
Do I get to pick the team?
No, I just said, yeah, pick the team. Could he have taken any team to the playoffs this year?
No, not like every team or just any team.
No, out of every team, if Pop would have started out with him in training camp, could he have taken him to the playoffs?
No, because at some point talent becomes a factor. You can't make I don't know what a saying is. Something like ugly horse a beauty. Something I don't know. You can't do that.
Yeah. I'm racking my head and I'm thinking, okay, the Sixers. I think Pop would like to have some.
The Sixers were good this year.
I know, but I mean, who else do you think? Brooklyn is the only question mark.
He is not taking Brooklyn to the playoffs.
But he would get rid of half of them, bring in some Europeans.
Oh, but we said coach. He's not GMing right now. We said, can he coach any team to the playoffs?
I think he could. No. I think he could.
You think he's taking the Magic to the playoffs with Sharif Payton or Payton, whatever?
I think there'd be an 8 seed. I think it'd be a tight. Dude, he's got, Eric Gordon, or not Eric Gordon.
Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, Aaron Gordon.
My man does it. Oh, he does a dunk.
Yeah, he's got some talent. He can get him playing some defense, which he's great at coaching, and I think he can make a push, especially in the Eastern Conference.
Not a chance, dude. I totally disagree.
All right, we're going again. Let's see what we got here.
You guys need to let me know in the comments who. Pop ain't taking any team to the playoffs. He's a great coach. I'm not taking anything away from him, but no, not
any team. All right, so what do we got here? It says Tim Tebow moving closer towards a major league debut.
I wanted this one too, and I'm excited. Look, I hated Tebow in college, but Tim Tebow, the professional, the man chasing his dreams, I'm a fan, okay? And just look, this is numbers off the top of the head because I was researching this when I saw it, and I was like, wow, this man's genuinely – I mean, it's single A, but he's genuinely putting some work in. I think over his last 16 games or whatever, he's hitting 320-ish, something around there. He started out slow, hitting 157, but since then his total average is up to like 260, which is really good by terms of baseball. If people aren't familiar, it's really hard to hit a damn baseball. So I think this is great. If anything, even if it's a public stunt for the Mets, this is good. It gives them – there's AA more people to come watch him. He's actually kind of deserving of it. He's been working with the guy from the Mets, Murphy, I think his name. Murphy is his name. He's working on his hitting with him. He's a big leaguer. So I'm not going to say he's going to make it to the MLB, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets to AAA.
Right. I think a team would be wise to, if he's on the fringe, to go ahead and move him up. Yeah, I mean, he's popularity. Imagine the ticket sales.
Yeah.
I would do it.
If he worked his way up to an MLB team, just imagine. Not that he's going to, but imagine a team like the Marlins taking a flyer on him.
Right.
You're going to pack out that stadium. That's his hometown, that $1 billion stadium that nobody goes to in Miami. Like, people will come watch Tim Tebow play solely for the fact that his name is Tim Tebow. And he's a winner. We saw it on the football field. So you put him on the baseball field, and you might win.
Might happen. All right, last one. Let's go.
Lastly.
Let's see what we're doing here.
What do you think it is?
Dude, I don't even know. There was a lot of these.
I'm going Kaepernick.
Oh, is it time to call in the Cap?
Oh,
Colin Kaepernick
let's go.
Still remains unsigned. What you got?
Wow. It's 100% time to call Kaepernick.
For who?
I don't know. For any team that's trash. What? Like, you're telling me the Browns couldn't use him as a bridge quarterback till they get another good quarterback?
But
even
why bridge the gap? Here's the thing with
what
Colin
do you
Kaepernick.
do? Who are you? Tell me who you're going to roll out there right now as Cleveland.
Dude, I don't know, but I'd have to look at the roster. I don't know, but Colin Kaepernick, he just, if he's an elite quarterback, if he's an Aaron Rodgers or a top 10, and
tell me
he's
why
gonna
you're
get
not
picked
taking
up.
him.
No, I might take him, but I know most of the majority of NFL owners, or maybe half of them, well, not just because of what he did last year. He comes with a little bit of baggage on what he did, his, the socks he wore, and some of the comments he made.
Okay, but
dude, I'm fine. I don't think I'm not going to sit on one side or the other, but I'm just saying, when you're looking for just an average quarterback in the NFL, it's like, do I take somebody that is going to be almost as good and he doesn't come with any baggage and he's going to come and work and grind and work, and I don't have to worry about providing him vegan lunches when we're going on our road trips? I'm just saying.
Look, he played last year with that, threw 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Yeah, he went 1 for 10, but he was on the 49ers.
Blaine Gabbert, I believe, is still a free agent, and he was ahead of them until he really stunk it up.
Okay, and Kaepernick, he's coming off his shoulder injury, whatever. That's the excuse people want to use. But because what has he done wrong to deserve not to have another shot in the NFL? He's played well on the field. All he does is have a little baggage from something he believes in for standing up in, which shouldn't matter. If you want to get wins on the football field, if I'm Cleveland and I have that decent defense these days, I'm not going to trot out Cody Kessler or Brock Osweiler, who just left a team that had a great defense and didn't win anything with them. So I'm taking Kaepernick if I'm Cleveland, or the Jets, somebody like that, a team that is in the dumps. Even if you want him as a backup, the Dolphins, go get him.
He'll be a backup quarterback, come training camp time.
Somebody just needs to get it out the way. You're going to deal with it regardless when you sign him. What's the difference of signing him now and later?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I heard Seattle might be a place for him, RG3. We'll see. It's just, there's a lot of people that they can't deal with that. It's going to be a distraction. Maybe lose some fans, some revenue, but you got to factor that in, unfortunately.
It's terrible. Terrible day we live in these days. Social media age.
Yeah, everybody has a voice. But
Including
good thing
us
we,
too.
yeah, including it's good we have a voice.
Our voices, they're little right now, but one day they'll be big.
One day. I believe, dude. Do you got anything else? I think we're kind
don't.
of covered a lot of the stuff that we needed to cover.
Really, all I can say is Cavs winning in 5 at the max, and we're gonna see Cavs Warriors. Then Evander Holyfield is Mike Tyson. They're going at it again. So that's all I got to say.
I'm gonna say, Adam Silver. I'll be emailing you this Excel sheet.
Don't take it.
It gets the NBA, so every game will be fun to watch next year.
He's about to add like 5 new veins into his head.
Yeah,
his bald head.
He's good. Shout out to UE Gaming. Shout out to Apocalypse for doing that awesome intro, and shout out to Diggs for producing, helping us get our stuff together. I think that's it, man.
Yeah, that's it. Just catch us next time. Next Monday. We'll be on our regularly scheduled time.
Episode 5.